The Lord used the planetary archetypes to teach Peter about the change in status of the Gentiles. They were now to be considered clean. The pedagogical method was the use of the polar configuration in forming symbols, such as the sheet and the beasts, which were then used to teach a gospel principle. This is the normal application of the gospel archetypes. But the archetypes can be used in reverse, where the flow of logic begins with the archetypes and then moves to the planets behind them and finally to the physical history underlying it all. In his vision, Peter saw the heaven open and a sheet appear with animals. The animals seen by Peter were divided into 4 classes, just as in John's vision: 4-footed beasts, wild beasts, creeping things, and fowls of the air. The animal groupings do not match, but it is the pattern that matters. Noah took 4 classes of animals into the ark likewise. Now we know from the Lord's explanation that these 4 types of animals represented classes of beings. This archetype indicates there are living beings, animals, in the heavenly realm. And we know from Joseph Smith and John himself that the apostles saw real living beasts in heaven, in addition to their symbolic representations. Joseph then cited John's statement in chapter 5 of Revelation to support his claim. Digging deeper into the physical component of the archetype, we note that John saw real animals on a real world, which he identified as heaven. Anciently, heaven was the planet Saturn, but heaven was also the congregation of planets, which we know to have consisted of Saturn, Venus, Mars, and Jupiter. There may have been others which were not visible to the ancients. If we follow this line of logic to its conclusion, it points to an event where real animals descended to the earth. It appeared that these animals descended in the sheet, net, or ark, since the planetary images filled the sky and would have provided a backdrop for the descent. The planet or planets of origin of the animals would remain unknown. In this logic flow, we move from the archetypes, the quartered heaven, the sheet, and the 4 classes of animals to the planets of the polar configuration, constituting heaven above and the repository of the animals, and to the historical event, the transplantation and descent of the animals to earth. Neither the vision of Peter, the Hawaiian story of the net, or the story of Noah and the ark provides a specific identification of the planet or planets that provided the animals. All we can presume is that they were real and close to earth. This same vision was seen by the prophet Malachi. Its symbolic structure is the same, though some of the details have changed. In Malachi's version, the great net becomes the windows of heaven. The animals are meat, meaning food. The descent of the sheet becomes the pouring out of blessings. Hunger is replaced by the devourer, which is destroying the fruits of the ground, likely causing famine. Heaven remains heaven. The windows of heaven of Malachi are the same windows which opened to flood the earth in Noah's time. There are 4 windows, as there were 4 quarters of the sheet, net, and ark. Each quarter of the heaven above became a window. The repeated restocking of the earth through transplantation after extinction events explains the mystery of the geologic column, the presence of new species in each layer of the column. After each cleansing of the earth of its life, new life forms were introduced. Many of these new forms would become extinct in the next extinction event and thereby show up in the fossil record. The process was repeated for each major catastrophic event. It may also now be possible to connect the fossil record with the historical record. We have the fossil record with its well-defined layers. We have the historical record with its well-documented catastrophes. All that needs to be done, if possible, is to marry them together.